Okay, what we're going to try and do today is get your internal assessment formatted the way that it needs to be and actually make it look like the paper or close to the paper of what you're going to turn into IB. And so what I've got pulled up here is a sample IA from a kid last year with the formatting removed, so I can kind of walk you through the steps. And then this is the last page of your IA packet. So if you flip to the very last page, this is what you will see. I'm just basically going to walk through it. You should be able to, just reading it, be able to do this, but I think seeing it will help you as well, especially with a few of the steps. With step one, I have already done step one with this. So basically what you need to do is take your paper that you've submitted to different parts of and start a completely new brand new blank Google Doc, and paste it all to it. That way everything's uniform and the same in that single doc. And so you're not cutting and pasting from one doc to another. You're putting it on a completely brand new Google Doc. So if you need to, pause this and do that, and then I'll jump into kind of the general paper formatting next. So what you're going to do is you are going to first set up the page margins. And so I've got 1-inch page margins is what I want on this entire paper. And then I explain to you specifically what you need to click on within Google Docs to do that. So I go to File, then I scroll down to Page Setup, and then I want 1-inch margins on each, for each margin. So you can set up with 1-inch margins. And so then that puts more words on each page, and eventually we'll save some paper. Then step 2 is to insert page numbers. We want page numbers on every page except for the first page. And so we'll go to Insert, and then we'll scroll down to page number, which is right there. And then we want it in the top right. We want this one, so it's going to be in the top right corner, but not on the first page. I just look at where my mouse is. I can't really explain it any way other than where my mouse is. So then you will click that, and notice here there is no page number on this first page, but if you scroll down to the second page, there's a page number, and once we insert our title page, that part will fix itself. Okay, then I want 1.5-inch line spacing, so not double spacing, but 1.5-inch line spacing on the entirety of the paper. So I will select all, I will go to Format, Line Spacing, and then 1.5, so 1.5. Do that, and then we see that change made, and then I need to do the same thing with font size. So font size is going to be 11. Font style, I want either one of those two. We'll go with Times New Roman on this one. And so we're all the way down to here. And then your section headings. And I know you guys, some of you guys have broken this up into different pages, or whatever else. That's, you don't need to do that. You can, but you don't need to. What I do want is I want clearly identified sections. So the headings themselves do not need to be indented, but they should be bold. So I'm going to go through this paper and bold the identification and evaluation of sources. Then I'm going to find investigation and make that bold. And then our last section, the conclusion, I missed it, or reflection, sorry. Oh, and that's right. This, I took this after they finished part 2. So we're going to act like the reflection would be here, but it's not, because I took this draft from someone who had only submitted steps 1 and 2 at that point. So we'll act like this is part C, the reflection, and I will bold that as well. And so this sets up your general paper. So we have some words there, I'll cut and paste these. This sets up the basic layout of what your paper should ultimately look like, at least in basic structure. Step 2 then is setting up your cover page. I'm on step 2 on the formatting of the IA. And so for step 2, it says set up your cover page, go to the first part of your paper and click Insert Page Break. And so that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to go to the top line, Insert Break, and then we want a page break. And so now we have a clean cover page for our first page. And you'll notice page 1 now of our paper is actually where the content of the paper started. As I've looked through some of your guys' drafts, some of you guys have table contents, some of you guys have images and things. You don't need to do that. There's no need for you to include that on your paper. And so for the title page or for the cover page, we've got these pieces of information. And so I cut her question just so I remember what it was. So I will just come up here, or I will try to come up here. And I will not have success with that. And I'll tell you what, how we do this then. So I'm going to adjust slightly here so I can get that title where I want it on the first page by itself. And you actually don't need the question part of it. You just need to know what your question is. So title page, you can really lay this out however you want. I'm not going to be too picky in terms of what it actually looks like. Typically, you want it center justified, but you need your paper title. Then you want your name. I don't know why that's carrying that to the second page. Okay. And so then we've got student name, HOA of the Americas, HL, and then you've got your word count, which you may not have yet. So just put a spot for the word count, and then just leave that for you to fill in later. And over here on the directions, it does indicate that your cover page footnotes, which we'll talk here about in a moment, works cited, and appendices, if you have one, do not count against that word count. So we now have, fix the formatting of the source page now. We now have a title page and a paper that look the way that they should. And again, you can set this up, doesn't have to look exactly like this, but there's no reason to do anything dramatic and things like that in terms of images or whatever else on there. So we've got a title page, and now we have a paper that looks somewhat like a paper. The next step is going to require you to have created a works cited page. I know up until this point, I've told you to just cite informally. Now you hopefully know what sources are going to be in your paper since your paper is written. And so you do need to go ahead and cite those formally. And so in this paper, the student has already done that. So you just need to go through and take your sources, and I give you some recommendations, the Purdue OWL, on how to cite your sources. I would not recommend using EasyBib or other online softwares because oftentimes they don't do it correctly, and it's very easy to spot if you use those and it didn't have enough information to pull a full citation. So I would recommend doing it old school, especially if there's pieces of info missing. But with your citation, so you've got a separate page, and so I would go down here to my works cited, or where my works cited is going to be. It's justified. And so you would do insert, break, page break, and now my works cited is on its own page. Works cited should be centered. And so we've got that there centered. And then, so we've got MLA, we've got databases. What I wouldn't recommend, your citation should be listed in alphabetical order. And so it looks like these are. And then they should have a line of hanging indent. And this is something that is a little bit difficult to do in Google Doc. I did provide a YouTube link on the IA packet direction. So if you go to this link, it will show you how to do it. I will try and do it here without screwing up. But essentially what you're going to do is you're going to click this little blue triangle over here. And the bottom part, let's see if it does what I want. It did not need to switch that. So we need the triangle to move and not the top line. And so what that has done is created a hanging indentation. And so you've got an indentation. It should be equivalent, there we go, to a 1/2 inch under each one of our citations. And so now you can look and see at my citations, and they are separated as they should be. And then they've got that hanging indent on there. Again, that part could be a little bit tricky. Watch the YouTube video link if you need assistance. Okay, the next step, once you have your works cited page, you are ready to insert footnotes. And footnotes are the types of citations that we're going to use in this paper. I feel like it makes your paper look more academic in nature, and also does not eat into your word count as in-text citations do. So up until this point, as you're writing your paper, I told you guys to just use in-text citations with whatever informal format that you want. Now we are going to formalize those, and it's going to maybe be a little bit tricky, but once you start doing it, it goes really quick. And if you've created your works cited page, it will go really, really quick. So in your paper, let's see, I don't know if I have one in this paper. Let's see if she's got an informal citation anywhere. I'm not seeing anything quickly as I scan. Okay, here we go. So for this citation, she's using whatever text she used with Walton, which I'll find here at the bottom, page 34. This is what she is citing. And so what I'm going to do is what it says on the directions right here. It says place cursor after the text that is to be cited and click insert and then footnote. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go find whatever source this is. So it's Walton, and she does have a Walton cited. I am going to copy this citation, and we'll revisit that here in a second. But I'm going to go back up into investigation, find where she has that Walton. So I'm going to take out and delete this informal citation. Before the period, my cursor is, I'm going to put my cursor. So I've got my cursor there, and then I'm going to click insert. Then I'm going to go down to footnote. And so what that's done is it's created the little one there. So you've got the raised one, the exponent one. I'm sure it's got an official name, but I don't know. And then it down in the bottom margin of the paper, it's created another one. All that you need to do is paste that citation you previously copied. Now, I think, and you should, make these single spaced within your footnotes. So single spaced, and then they don't need to be size 12. Let's see how 8 looks. It's probably too small. I'd say 9 to 10 is probably good. And so now you can see with this Walton, and I've already lost it. There we go. So this one is directly connected to this. The only thing that you need to add is the specific page number that quote or that piece of information you used came from. So hers for that one was Walton 34 is how she identified it. So I'm going to take out that, and actually we'll leave that. At the end of your citation in your footnote, simply put page whatever it is. So page 34. And so that tells me as the person looking at this that I got this from this source on page 34. Now you'll notice that earlier in the paper, she has another Walton, so Walton 38. What you would do, so let's go ahead and take out that in-text citation. Let's click insert, let's click footnote, and it makes that the one, and that to the two because it came earlier. And so you're going to do the exact same thing. So you've pasted your you've pasted your citation. Now you just need to make the font correlate. So we said 9. And so you've got the citation there, you've got the subscript 1, subscript 2. And so all I need to add is that this was from page 38. And so again, it shows that this specific footnote was from page 38. This one was then from page 34. And that's how you'll go through your paper with every single citation that you used. It will take a little bit of time, but if you've done a good job of keeping track of your sources, if you've done a good job with your in-text citations, All you're doing is cutting, pasting, and adding the page number. And when you're done, your paper should look more professional. As I'm looking at this, you don't need the hanging indent within the footnote, although it's giving me a hard time about it. So you might have to play with formatting a little bit to make it look good, basically is what you're trying to do here. Appendix, I've not had anyone approach me about an appendix yet, but if you have, let's say you have a map that is something that you're referencing constantly with it in your paper, or a region or something that would be useful to have a map in. It's basically, as it says here, it contains supplementary material that is not an essential part of the text itself, but might be helpful in providing more comprehensive understanding of the topic. And so we've got a list of examples: charts, tables, maps, quotes, extracts from the text, blah, blah, blah. It is not required. It is a way, if you're long on word counts, to maybe include some supplemental information that is within your paper that isn't necessarily vital to it, but would be helpful to it. You could put in an appendix. Some of your samples have an appendix you could look at, and an appendix would just go after your works cited page. It would go at the very, very end of your paper. When you actually get to a place where you've gone through and finished all your citations, and you are ready to submit this paper as a submissible draft or submit it to IB, you're going to save it as a PDF. We are not quite to that point yet, but I'll point this out now just because you will eventually be doing it. So what you'll do to submit it as a PDF and maintain the formatting that you've laid out is you would go to File, then you would go to Download, and you're downloading as a PDF. And it should download. I'm not seeing my file anywhere, but there it is. And then you would change the file name and save it. And actually, let's look at this before I save it. And so you can see how it's laid out as a PDF, and it's saved exactly like it should on the Google Doc. And you can see your footnotes that we just put in. You've got the spacing maintained, nothing's wonky on it. We've got our works cited list with our hanging indents, all of that's there as it should be. And then ultimately, I even explain how I want you, what file name format I want you to use. So for this draft specifically, the next draft that you're going to turn in, it would be your last name, first name, and then submissible draft. And so that's what you will save and eventually turn it in. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. I know it was a little bit lengthy, but it's going through basically what we'd had planned for an entire class period within however long it just took me to do this screen capture. This is what you need to try and get done by the next deadline, which I haven't decided when it is, so I'll post that in the post. If you've got questions, as always, let me know, and I'm trying to figure out how to stop the recording.